Alabama A&M, Coach Maynor over there at Alabama A&M. They're looking to return to championship form over in actually in our East Division. So, we want to help stymie them as we are in the Eastern Division. They got a couple of transfers over there. Main one, their quarterback, he just named Quincy Casey, who came out of Jackson State as his number one guy for quarterback over there. So we want to see what they have.
Yeah, they actually led all of black college football, maybe all of FCS football in terms of actual people coming through the portal. They
really?
had over 25 kids come to that school in the portal. There's a lot of pushback about Alabama A&M. They're the last school to publish their roster leading up to the first game. So everybody's giving them some grief about that. Make no mistake about it, Cornell Manor is an offensive genius.
He is
a gifted football coach. And we all know the battles that he and Deion Sanders have had over the past couple of years. So I don't think that that's going to diminish. In fact, this year that football game is being played down in Mobile, Alabama.
Really,
it's going to be the Gulf Coast Classic. So that should be a very interesting football game.
Definitely so. Let's move along. Alcorn State, Lorman, Mississippi. Alcorn State. Their key contributor is the running back Nico Duffy. Duffy was named second team All SWAC on last year. He ranked fourth in the SWAC in rushing with 805 rushing yards on the season and 4 touchdowns. He's followed also by senior wide receiver C.J. Bowler, who finished the season ninth in the SWAC with 668 receiving yards and had 5 touchdowns on the year. Then they have on the defensive side a linebacker Claudine Sherilis, who was selected to second team SWAC. There in Alcorn State. Last season he finished 8th in the SWAC in tackles with 76. So they look to come back and I know against the Wildcats they want to come back and avenge their loss.
I'm certain they do. And Nico Duffy, a very talented kid that we tried to recruit ourselves during the Allen Super tenure. He's out of Tampa, Florida. He's a really good football player. Yeah, he's been playing for 3 years, and so he's the bell cow offensively for the Braves of Alcorn.
Most definitely. We move right along to the Florida A&M Rattlers. Coach Simmons has had a very tumultuous week. More than a week, we'll say.
They're referring to it podcast-wise as the week that consisted of the heat on the hill.
The heat on the
hill, right.
Wow. The heat on the hill. I love it. We saw the Rattlers play against North Carolina on last Saturday evening. What do you say about the Rattlers? And we know what they did. I mean, coming into that game, what they faced.
Very impressive performance by them. An FCS school going up against an FBS school, and a very, very good FBS school in North Carolina, highly regarded this year. But I thought Florida A&M, given the circumstances that they were under with the kind of situation that they were dealing with the loss of personnel, acquitted themselves very, very well. They actually looked like they belong on that football field. They did not look like an FCS school, and you had to be impressed by the performance that those kids gave under the circumstances of having so many people not being eligible for that particular game. So kudos to the Rattlers for the effort. I think they gained a lot of respect from a lot of people watching that football game, and they really look good with their new quarterback, Musa, who is a transfer from the SEC, played for Vanderbilt, and he looked very, very good throwing that football around. So this Sunday will sort of give us a better glimpse this week when they go up against the primetime guys out of Jackson, Mississippi.
There you go. We'll definitely see what they have to offer over there. Next up, we have Southern, as you spoke about earlier, Coach Dooley, moving from Prairie View over to Southern. Coach Dooley brings his winning ways to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He's no stranger to Southern.
Nope.
He was under Coach Pete Richardson. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Definitely. At Southern from 97 to 2010. So, he's very familiar with football over there. Trying to help Southern raise. Last year, they finished third in the SWAC Division West with an overall record of 4-7. They had quite a few guys were selected to the All SWAC team, but they want to come out with a vengeance, and I know Coach Dooley will make sure that they do that.
Well, he's as I said before, he's an offensive-minded coach. Himself playing the receiver position. It's no accident that he was tabbed as the head coach for Southern, because Southern chose to play Prairie View for homecoming last year in Baton Rouge, and he hung 48 points on Southern before 24,000 homecoming fans, and he left a real difficult taste in their mouth. So when they went looking for a coach, they decided to tap into a person who was familiar with
much so
with the culture of Southern. And I can tell you this, Gary, he's a great recruiter. He's an offensive genius of sorts, and so look for them to be very, very much more explosive offensively than they were this past year. In fact, I saw where they have the greatest depth of anybody in the conference, if you can believe this, in the wide receiver room. They plan to throw the football around the yard a whole lot. Yeah.
Wow. Like to bring on Mr. HillWildcats.com himself, Mr. Jerry Bell. Jerry, welcome to the show, sir. Jerry, you there? We're having a little technical difficulties. We'll bring Jerry on in just a moment. Next, we have Jackson State themselves. They would like for us to not read this off, but of course we'll read off what Jackson State brings to the table. They obviously say that everything for them speaks for itself. So, of course, the Tigers come in winning the SWAC on last year, led by Mr. Shadur Sanders. Shadur is back this year for another year at quarterback. Jerry Rice Award winner, and the accolades go on and on. They return a lot of first-team guys, first-team SWAC guys, offensive lineman Tony Gray, linebacker Aubrey Miller Jr., safety Shiloh Sanders, and return specialist Isaiah Bolden. So that's who those guys return back. And then a huge receiving core with Malachi Wyman and those guys over on the receiving side that Shadur loves to throw to.
Well, and expect a different type of offense this year. Deion Sanders decided to get with his coaching staff. They made the short trip from Jackson, Mississippi up to Starkville, Mississippi, and took a look at Mike Leach's air raid offense and decided to bring one of his young coaches to be the head offensive coordinator for Jackson State. So you'll see a lot of the air raid offense on Sunday, a lot of footballs flying in the air, a little more of an ability to try to utilize some of that talent that they have there. Now, I don't know how well they're going to run the football, but they definitely have enough at the quarterback and wide receiver position. So it should be very interesting to watch the Tigers as they round into shape with this new offense.
Most definitely. And they, of course, take on the Rattlers on Sunday down in Miami Gardens, down in Hard Rock Stadium, the day after we take on the Hurricanes. Jerry, are you on with us?
I am. Can Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now. Welcome back to the show, sir. Glad to have you on for another year.
It's good to be here. Good to be with you guys. I have a question. Why do you always call me Mr. Hell Wildcat?
Everybody loves reading on hillwildcats.com any and everything that Mr. Hillwildcats.com puts out. So that's why, sir. Jerry, what have you been?
You have Mr. Larry. You have Mr. Larry Wesley in your presence. That's where the focus needs to be right now.
He's retired, so he just says he just wants to lay back, Jerry, and just kind of chill. He's just here at the wings, kind of sitting back, waiting to go fishing in the morning before we go down and take on those hurricanes down there.
He probably know about 20 holes to throw a rod in between here and Miami.
Most definitely, and catch plenty fish in
now,
each
y'all
one.
not going to get me to talk about the fishing, okay? We're going to stay on subject here.
We're going to stay on task. Jerry, what have you been up to, man, during this non-football time?
Bite my fingernails off. I'm excited about football. And I'm excited about this season. I think we're going to learn a lot about the coaching staff throughout the SWAC. When you consider one of my key points or takeaways from this season is just to watch how these coaching staffs are able to assimilate so many new players. I mean, I think Alabama A&M has 26 guys through the portal. FAMU and Jackson State got about Bethune Cookman has about 15. Alabama State. So it's going to be interesting to see how these coaches maintain their culture, take players that have been in their programs for 3-4 years, and then merge that with new guys who are coming in. And I think the coaching staffs that do the best job of that are the coaching staffs that lead their team to the top. So I'm excited.
Definitely excited for this season and all that comes with it in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And we'll definitely get to our Wildcat football here shortly during the show. We want to turn to our preseason rankings. As far as the SWAC is concerned, of course, coming out of last year with 116 votes, Jackson State was selected to finish first. Then followed by Florida A&M, selected to finish second. Alabama A&M to finish third. Alabama State to finish fourth. And Bethune-Cookman to finish fourth. Mississippi Valley State rounds out, and that's in the East Division, with Jackson State to win it all. Southern was tabbed in the Western Division with 111 votes to finish first, followed by Alcorn State, then by Prairie View, then Grambling State, then Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then Texas Southern rounds it out. Guys, what do you think about those finishes?
Well, everybody has a projection and a prediction at the beginning of the season, and it makes them feel comfortable about that. You have to play the game, and I think what Jerry sort of said, the team that can get into incorporating or infusing the talent that they're bringing in with the existing talent, is probably going to be the team that fares best. It always helps to have experience at the quarterback position offensively.
Most definitely.
And so you look at those teams that bring proven experience in that position back, I think that gives them a leg up. But, we make a lot of noise today about the Jimmies and the Joes, the players, but it's still a coaching game. Whoever can scheme up or get their players to buy in and execute with a high level of efficiency, not be self-destructive, I think those typically are going to be the teams that are going to win more games than lose games.
And I highly concur with that. Jerry, what do you think about his summation?
I think you can ball those preseason rankings up and throw them in the trash can. And so you have to have them. you predict based on what you see, but I expect there to be a ton of. There's so many unknowns right now, and really, when I look at the SWAC landscape right now, I think the team with the fewest question marks right now, or at least going into the season before last week, the team with the fewest question marks was Florida A&M.
Right.
They were the team that had the most returning starters that you can count on. And then, of course, they are going through their fiasco right now, so now they have question marks. But, I mean, Jackson State, everybody loves Jackson State right now. I think they're number 15 in the FCS poll. Jackson State couldn't run the ball last year, and they couldn't block anyone. Jackson State last year had a bunch of infusion of new talent. Now everybody has that. So, can they continue the momentum? Can they kind of improve and distance themselves from everyone else, or has everyone caught up to them? We don't know that. We just don't. I mean, we make projections, and I understand that. It's fun. We project what we think we know based on those players. But right now, I think there's just so many unknowns. So let's talk about a little church school in Daytona Beach. I mean, if you think you're going to get from those guys this year what you got last year, newsflash. So I think you can just pick that, ball it up.
This roster that Bethune-Cookman has this year is in no way indicative in any way of what we had last year. It's a complete revamped offense. The talent level has been upped. Again, like I said, they don't have a lot of time playing together. But talent-wise, it's definitely an upgrade in that regard. And I think Jared makes a very important point that I looked at the game with FAMU in North Carolina. FAMU probably possesses the two best big running backs that I've seen in the SWAC. They have both of the young men are from Jacksonville, Florida, one being Tim Jennings, the other one being Dylan McLeod. Both of them are over 6 feet and over 230 pounds. They are capable running backs of running between the tackle. They catch the football very well out of the backfield in the passing game. And it's the one thing that I have not seen Jackson State in 2 years address. They've not bought in a running back of any notoriety. You would have thought that would have been one of the things that Dion would try to, and his staff tried to have addressed this year. But going through their roster, I don't see that. I really don't see that. Was it the great coach Woody Hayes said about the forward pass? He said two things happen when you throw the ball, and two of them are bad. So he said, I like to run the football a little bit better than the other team. So we'll see what happens. I think Florida A&M has a lot of balance in their offense. I don't know what Jackson is going to have with regard to that until Sunday. But I would concur that FAMU on paper appears to be the most balanced football team coming back.
I would definitely concur.
And I think,
go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, we're talking about the East, with those teams. The West is wide open, right? You talked about Dooley going back to Southern. He's leaving Prairie View. And I like him as a coach. I really like him as a coach. But, can Southern figure out what they're going to do at quarterback? Southern can run the ball. We know they can run the ball. They can run the ball on anybody. But they finish, 3-5 in the SWAC last year, 4-7 overall, because they were dead last in passing. So their issue is the exact opposite of Jackson State, right? Jackson State couldn't figure out how to run the ball, and then Southern couldn't figure out how to pass it. So, they're predicted to finish at the top because Dooley's been so good with quarterbacks and receivers over the years. But again, you don't know what you have until you strap it up. Every year, every level, high school, NFL, FCS, FBS, it doesn't matter. Everybody going through the year feeling good about themselves. By 12 o'clock a.m. Sunday morning, there's going to be a whole bunch of people who say we're exactly the same as we were last year. We're not as good as we thought we are. There'll be a few surprises. And so, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued this year because I think there are so many unknowns, and I'm not just buying the hype because there's just too many changes.
We'll see. We'll see. Preseason. Go ahead, Rodney.
Yeah. My thing is, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the rankings, and just injuries. Injuries are a big part of football, and I just want to see like depth. The teams with the most depths are going to be the ones that I think are going to rise to the top at the end. Because me from experience, I know one year, my senior year, we went through like 3 or 4 quarterbacks, and it was because of injury, So I want to see how their teams fare once injuries and stuff, come about.
Right, most definitely, guys. We'll see. I know we had some SWAC football on, like I said, this past weekend, but it kind of goes for real starting this weekend. Real football this weekend, guys. That'll take us right into our Pro First Sports Management SWAC week schedule. First up tonight, we have Mississippi Valley State is facing Tarleton State. That was an 8 p.m. kickoff. There, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Alabama A&M is facing UAB. That also is a 7 p.m. kickoff, so they're underway now. Let's check the scores there. So at the bottom of the first, with 3:16 left in the first quarter, Tarleton State 7, Mississippi Valley State 0. 7:26 left in the first. University of Alabama Birmingham 21 and Alabama A&M 0. Moving right along, our matchup, as we say on Saturday, our Wildcats go down to Miami Gardens, Hard Rock Stadium to face the University of Miami Hurricanes, the new look University of Miami Hurricanes, as they say. 3:30 p.m. kickoff there in Hard Rock Stadium. HailWildcats.com. Let's Go Wildcats. We'll have a bus going down. So if you want to join us, it'll be a great trip to go down to Miami. It's a turnaround trip. Go down and come back. After the game, we will partake in the tailgate. So that's letsgowildcats.org/fanbus to UM. If you want to partake in that, we'll be leaving out Saturday morning. Miles College journeys to Alabama State. That's a 6 p.m. kickoff. Stephen F. Austin goes to Alcorn State. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff. Any predictions there?
Well, Stephen F. Austin kicked off the football season in the FCS kickoff game in the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama on Saturday against Jacksonville State. The Lumberjacks came in rated number 11 in the nation, but they fell to Jacksonville State by a large score. I think it was like 42-28 was the final there. But they have a very good team, the Lumberjacks of Stephen F. Austin. I think they'll probably come in a little bit salty when they take on the Braves. That's a tough opener for the Braves because the Braves will be playing their first game of the year, and the Lumberjacks will have played one game, would have lost that game, so they're probably going to come in with a lot of vengeance. They have a very explosive offensive football team, and I'm probably going to give the edge in that game to Stephen F. Austin.
I would concur.
I like Stephen F. Austin. Big.
We have Miles College. We have Texas Southern going to Prairie View.
That's always the Labor Day Classic. It's a rivalry.
It is very much so.
It's the Florida A&M Bethune Cookman game in reverse. It's just the beginning of the season. I was online last night. The trash talking threads are up to 5 to 6 pages, and they haven't even played a game yet. So that's a pick-em kind of a ball game. I think you got to be very careful with picking Prairie View because Prairie View has so many questions that have to be answered about a new staff, a new quarterback. Jawan Pass, who played for them last year, played well, was a Louisville transfer. He's gone. The coaching staff has sort of been remade. So that's going to be a classic football game with Texas Southern on the come up this year as well. Don't know how it will go, but I think it will be a very close football game and a hotly contested game.
Next up, we have Florida Memorial going into Southern, going into Baton Rouge. That's scheduled for 7 p.m. kickoff there in Baton Rouge.
Well, that's a money game. Somebody got paid some money to send Florida Memorial, who, by the way, was successful last week in opening their season, taking on Edward Waters College, and they defeated Edward Waters,
Yes,
surprisingly,
sir, they did.
39-34 in a very thrilling football game. I had the Tigers winning that game, but apparently Bobby Roan, who's the new head coach down there, has those Florida Memorial Lions all fired up. Now, this is a different beast they're taking on this week and going out to Southern. First of all, you got to make that long bus ride out to Southern from Miami.
Right.
And then you got to play a group of Jaguar cats. And I can tell you this about Coach Dooley's offense. I was reading some clips on him in the paper the other day. He is going with a racehorse up-tempo offense.
Really?
So I really worry about the depth that Florida Memorial will be able to bring into that game, not mentioning the disparity in terms of the talent. Even though we know there's great talent in Miami. Don't get me wrong about that. But the Jaguar Cats are not going to be the Jaguar Cats they were last year. This one could get ugly and could get ugly real quick.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
I think, Florida Memorial, they're just too small a front for Southern. So, again, what we know is Southern can run the ball. And I think what's the average offensive lineman down at Florida Memorial? About 240 pounds probably. And so just looking at them last week, and they were small. I just think Southern is just going to lean on those boys and just way too much.
Yeah, I agree.
We have Lane College going into Arkansas Pine Bluff. That's another 7 p.m. kickoff.
Don't sleep on Lane College. The two games I've got circled for Lane. They're SIAC Division II school. They're playing Arkansas Pine Bluff to start the season, and they're playing Tennessee State in the John Merritt Classic before Bethune-Cookman plays Tennessee State the week after. Lane College has some athletes, and they have a chip on their shoulder. Don't sleep on them. If you do, you can probably, I do remember a time Bethune-Cookman took on Lane a few years ago for homecoming, and we just barely got out of there by the score of, I think, 13-7. And I was so impressed with what I saw of Lane then. So I'm not going to sleep on that ball game. It's very interesting elements of that ball game that can determine this. I think it could go either way, even though it's at Arkansas Birmingham,
right?
Arkansas Pine Bluff. But Lane is tough.
You got Grambling going to Arkansas State, 7 p.m. kickoff.
I think I'd take Arkansas State in that football game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people are projecting. I'm certain Hugh Jackson will have the Grambling Tigers ready to play. I just don't think that they'll be able to take a victory against a pretty good group of Arkansas State Indians who are coming back. And they've got some talent coming back this year. Remember now, Butch Jones, who's formerly of the University of Tennessee. He's the head coach over there at Arkansas State, and he's got a lot of FBS players over there.
He definitely does. He definitely does. And then on Sunday, FAMU versus Jackson State.
Well, I've really looked at that football game based on what I saw with Florida A&M, and to me, it won't take me long. I don't usually do this with football, but I think in this football game, the biggest differences are going to be found in the trenches. If Jackson State cannot run the football, and they're just a one-pony trick, I think Florida A&M can beat them. Florida A&M has a better balance. The key for me with Florida A&M is will they be able to handle Jackson's pressure defense? Because you're not going to get that same look you got against North Carolina. It will not be cover two. Jackson is going to play man to man, and they're going to send everybody, including the police, to get the quarterback. I'm telling you, they're going to be bringing pressure. So it should be a very interesting game. I hope the weather is not too much of a factor.
That's it right there.
To take, to take the edge off the game.
Well, the forecast calls for weather,
Oh, you know that.
for inclement weather.
It's Miami.
And so, yeah, the weather right now looks pretty bad. It looks like it's going to be another sloppy game, reminiscent of last season. And, despite all of the, down to 17 ineligible players right now, I like FAMU. I think FAMU win this game. I think having that week of just preparation, of being able to identify some of your strengths, some of your weaknesses, even though, again, UNC was very vanilla, I was very impressed with the way that FAMU's offensive line held up. They were able to hold up against, and listen, North Carolina has like 3 5-stars on the defensive line. So even if it is vanilla, those are still guys with NFL talent that they're playing against, and the offensive line was able to hold up for the better part of 3.5 quarters. So I like FAMU to win this game. I think they have the fewest number of question marks going into the season. Jackson State could come out, and would I be surprised if they win? No. But I'm leaning towards the Rattlers.
Mr. Ralph Smith, who you leaning towards? We'll get Ralph on here. He's there. He just probably went to sleep on us.
Okay.
That'll take us into our FCS computer rankings, our preseason rankings.
As hard as it is for me to say I want a Rattler to win.
He had to come off mute, guys.
As hard as it is for me to say I want a Rattler to win.
Do you want somebody else to say it for you? We got you, Ralph.
All right. I want somebody else to say it for you. Hey, ask Mr. Wesley to say it for me, please.
Just leave it at the altar, Ralph. Just leave it there. All right, our FCS. Go ahead, Ralph.
Just leave it at the altar, Ralph.
So our FCS computer rankings, number 23, FAMU, and this is preseason, of course. At 25, we have Jackson State. At 56, we have Alabama A&M. At 69, Alcorn State. 74, Prairie View A&M. 87, Southern University. At 91, Alabama State. At 95, our Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. At 101, Grambling State. At 111, Mississippi Valley State. At 114, Arkansas Pine Bluff. And rounding it out at 124 is Texas Southern.
And 95.
Do we agree with that?
That's about right.
Gotcha. All right, guys. There we have it. Mr. Wesley, take us back in time. You got anything you remember from when our Wildcats took on the Hurricanes?
No, I can't. I think the biggest thing, when Brian Jenkins and Bethune-Cookman played the Hurricanes a few years ago, in Miami. I don't remember the exact year. I just remember the fact that Al Golden was coaching the Hurricanes, and Bethune-Cookman, as an FCS school, actually led that football game for much of the first half.
They surely did.
And they looked like the more physical football team. And I know the Miami people were incensed and enraged in the press box. They could not believe that Bethune-Cookman was able to play with the Hurricanes and be as physical as they were in that football game. It was a tremendous effort. The Hurricanes got some breaks in the second half and eventually pulled away. But even in winning the ball game, the pundits in the stadium were so upset because they figured Miami should have covered the football game by a wider margin of score. But it was what I take away from that game was the physicality that Bethune-Cookman brought that day.
They definitely
they
did.
really acquitted themselves very, very well in that regard. Now, I was reading some clips about the Hurricanes this year. Let's make some points real quick here. It's about Bethune-Cookman, but the roster that Miami has currently configured under Mario Cristobal is regarded as the 13th best football roster in the nation regarding Max 24 Sports.
Wow.
His coaching staff, I want to go on record right now as saying, is the best football coaching staff I've seen on paper in America. He has assembled some outstanding coaches.
Kevin Steele, defensive coordinator,
He's got Kevin Steele for defensive coordinator. He has got Josh Gaddis, who is just off of being awarded the #1 offensive coordinator in America last year in the turnaround that took place at Michigan.
Definitely.
He's got Roland Smith, a high school coach who is legendary for Miami Central, left Miami Central to go coach for the Hurricanes. He's got Charlie Strong
Yes.
as a linebacker coach, formerly the head coach of Louisville, defensive coordinator at the University of Florida. He's got a who's who. And most importantly, Mario Cristobal is an offensive line coach.
He is.
You can believe Miami is going to try to get back to playing Miami football, being strong in the trenches on both sides. And he gave Bethune-Cookman a lot of credit, complimentary credit. He's saying people think we're playing a team that would be a
that
pushover.
doesn't have it. Right.
He said, we have all the respect in the world for Bethune-Cookman. We look for them to give us a good game. We're not going to play the 2s and 3s like people think. We're going to start off with the 2s and 3s and save our 1s. He said our 1s are going to start the game. The 2s and 3s may play as the game goes along.
Right.
So he's looking at this the right way, and I'm happy to see. I would love to sneak up on him, but there will be no sneaking up on the Hurricanes.
Not this year.
There will not
be. There will definitely not be.
Yeah. And Mr. Wesley, that year was 2011 when it was a 7-point game with a minute left in the third quarter.
That's
the game was 21 to 14.
It was a 7-point.
It was 21 to 14. The last minute of the third quarter, they kicked the field goal, and then they started the fourth quarter with Tommy Streeter catching a long touchdown pass, and that really kind of
I think
did
the
the
play
contest
that really jump-started them, Jerry, in that football game was we made a bad decision and decided to punt the football, and the young man Benjamin out of Belgrade Central went on to the NFL. He was a top punt returner. He took the not Kelvin. This is another
Travis Benjamin.
Travis took the punt return back, and that got Miami going. I really wish we hadn't. I kept saying, don't kick it to him, because I knew how dangerous he was.
Yeah, he was definitely.
He was very different, and that really got them jump-started, because prior to that time, we had really taken the air out of the stadium with the way we had played.
Definitely.
Right. It was very reminiscent of Florida A&M's game last week against UNC. But I think Bethune was more physical, and actually there was a lot more angst in the crowd than even last week in that game. But, very similar contest. Just kind of got to the end, and, like I said, they had a great athlete. He made it to the NFL. He made a play. Tommy Streeter made it to the NFL. He made a play, and we just ran out of depth. So,
yeah, we've never played Miami that I've seen where we went down thinking that the moment was too big for us.
Right.
I think our kids felt very, very good about playing them. No fear factor. I was reading the comments of our old MEAC cornerback this year, Amari Hill.
Right.
And he was saying that he's got a chip on his shoulder. He said because he didn't feel good about the way we played the last time we were down there.
Right.
So he said we want to show and acquit ourselves a little bit better this time. So it's interesting to see that mindset is coming from one of your captains.
And you kind of, I was speaking to him the other day, out at football practice, and you can tell his mind was locked on, let's get on that bus and go to Miami right now, and that seems like the focus of most of the team, like locked in, razor sharp focus to go down and handle business. So.
Well, we fail to realize. I handed Rodney a paper here today of the Hurricanes roster, and they list all the stars.
Right.
But what you have to realize is these kids grew up playing against each other.
Right along with each other.
Anything to them. They played in Pop Warner League, etc. You might be at the U, I might be at BCU.
Right.
But it's let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Right.
And so you gotta kind of admire that spirit. Now I hope we can get out of there uninjured, because Rodney made that
right.
One of the things that happened to Florida A&M the other night, they lost 2 offensive linemen.
They did.
For the year.
And came into that game with 7.
It came in with only 7. So you always worry about that in those kind of disparity games.
Definitely. And we know we have a juggernaut the next week. Go ahead, Jerry.
I got a question mark. Can I change my mind about my pick in FAMU and Jackson State?
Jerry, you can do whatever you like, man. Even though it's out in the atmosphere, you can still change it, man.
Now, hold on.
You haven't put the ballot in yet.
Help me remember this. After that game we played against Miami in 2011, I want to say that next week we went to North Carolina A&T and stunk it up.
You're correct.
Or was that Tennessee State the next week?
No,
I think that was North
Carolina
A&T.
That was A&T, Ralph?
And acted like we had not seen a football. We sure did.
Was that the game we dropped like 18 passes? I want to say that's right.
That was it. That was the game.
That hangover effect. And that wasn't a good A&T team. That was.
Yeah, right.
But Jared makes a point. 2 of the times we played Miami, we had big football games. Not that any football game is big, but one year we played Miami. He's referencing the year we played and had A&T and had to go on the road to play A&T. And then one other year we played Miami and we came back home to play Tennessee State. Tennessee State had a really good football team that year. And they caught us a little banged up, a little down. And they won that game 21-14.
Definitely.
Listen, hold on. I got to tell the story. So, listen, I wish you guys were in the press game conference. That Brian Jenkins, boy, he gave me the business. It was 2011.
Is that anything new?
Because, listen, I remember now because, we stunk it up in A&T, and I think we probably dropped 3 touchdowns in the first half of that game. And then we just never got it going in the second half. So the next year we went down to Miami. We played against them. We're in the post-game interview. It was a similar kind of game where we played well, but that year they had Duke Johnson. And Duke was just, anytime they got in trouble, they gave the ball to Duke, and we couldn't do nothing with it. And so in the post-game interview, I asked, Coach Jenkins, hey, listen, last year you guys played against North Carolina A&T, and you really just, you didn't have it. You just kind of came out flat, or did you come out flat? Did you lose? Do you think that'll happen this year? Man, he said some words that I cannot say on Joy 106.3 Daytona Funny Topic. But basically it boiled down to Rod Broadway just kicked our butt. That's essentially, I'm paraphrasing greatly. And he took out all his angst on me, I guess. because I asked that question. But then we come back the next week, Tennessee State, and it wasn't just Rod Broadway. It was Rod Reed, too. He also gave it to him the next week. But, those things happen. Is sometimes you play those kind of teams that takes a lot out of you. And good thing for Bethune-Cookman, we play Miami this week, but South Carolina State playing UCF, and UCF is giving them the business. So hopefully we have an equal amount taken out of us, and we're prepared for the week after.
That score at halftime, 28 UCF to South Carolina State's 3. They were in a little rain delay over in Orlando.
That's not quite surprising.
Not at all. Not by a long shot. But that will be a foe that we go against on next weekend. We have the Hurricanes this weekend. You're listening to Joy 106.3 FM, Hell Wildcats X's and O's show. Guys, what should we look for out of the Maroon and Gold in 2022?
Well, I can only base this on what I've seen so far in fall practice and a little bit of what I saw in spring.
Right.
The two benchmark areas for me, one that the roster, first of all, has been remade. We have much better athletic ability at multiple positions. Multiple. And I think that shows an improvement in terms of the type of personnel you're working with in that regard. I think that we're going to play a lot of people. I believe defensively, while we all have the same defense, not to paraphrase Coach Sims, the philosophy will change a little bit. It's the same defense. We're just going to get after people a little bit more, I believe. I think you're going to see a lot more of Bethune-Cookman blitzing and playing a little more man coverage, bump and run, not sitting off with a 10-yard cushion with the cornerbacks. And I can tell you this, it's going to be a lot more physical defense when it comes to hitting people. I can promise you that.
A lot more physical defense.
So that's what I'm looking for. The other thing, without getting too much in detail, and I think this is something that has to be expressed very clearly early. When I look at Bethune-Cookman football over the last 5-10 years, maybe going back to when Brian Jenkins got here, we won a lot of football games. But over the last 5-6 years, one of the things that has really puzzled me, particularly calling radio ball games, was I just did not see the continuity in some of our game plans offensively. What were we exactly trying to do, what we were trying to get established? And so I have been lobbying for years for us to get a quarterback coach. I don't know how you play the football game without having a quarterback coach. Well, we have a quarterback coach this year, and we have a play caller this year. And I'm not trying to put too much on his shoulder, but I think you will notice right away that Bethune-Cookman's approach offensively is going to be a lot more cerebral in what we're doing. I think you'll see a lot more efficiency in the offense, a lot more continuity, and less predictability. And I think that will give us a chance. We'll make mistakes like any young team will make mistakes. But I don't think there'll be mistakes that were made by plays that should not have been called. I think there'll be more of a theory to what we're calling in terms of what we're trying to establish. Look for more personnel. You're going to see some traditional personnel, 2 backs, 1 tight end. You may see some one back, 2 tight end personnel. We call that 12 personnel. You're going to see a lot of motion, things that we did not show a lot of the past couple of years or so. And I think, like I said, you'll see a better design. One of the things I kept hearing from a lot of people that I talked with was the predictability of Bethune-Cookman's offense. And if you don't check your tendencies, you become very predictable. And so I think you'll see a noted difference in the approach to how the plays are called and also the efficiency. And I think you'll see us go a little faster this year. We're going to move with a sense of urgency, getting plays in and out onto the football field.
Speak to the, as we talk about that, we have some new coordinators. One of them not new to Bethune-Cookman football, but on the offensive side of the ball, Coach Mike Canales. You were speaking about him moments ago.
I have done a lot of homework on Mike Canales. I really have. And I can say this, in my years of watching Bethune-Cookman football, on paper, as far as the preparation of a coach to take over a position, in this case, the offensive coordinator, he is the most experienced offensive coordinator to ever coach at Bethune-Cookman in the history of Bethune-Cookman football.
And that's saying a lot, because we've had some.
This guy is a 31-year veteran of coaching offensive football, 23 of the 31 years as an offensive coordinator and a quarterback coach.
Yes.
He has coached with two of the greatest football minds in all of college football when it comes to offensive play design and play calling, Lavelle Edwards at Brigham Young University and Norm Chow at North Carolina State and UCLA. He's been around some great coaches. He's coached at a number of major programs. He coached a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Phillip Rivers.
Yes, he did.
At North Carolina State, and more recently, Phillip Rivers, who played for the San Diego Chargers. He has coached with Herm Edwards. He's coached with the New York Jets, with Arizona, with Utah State is where he graduated from. He was the quarterback coach more recently at the University of Tennessee in the SEC. So his pedigree for the places he's been, the people he's worked with, the caliber of players he's worked with, 3 or 4 of his players are noted players, offensive players who've made it to the league. Jeremiah, the receiver from the New York Jets, cannot think of his last name right now. Jeremiah Cottrey. He coached him in college as well.
Right.
So he understands the passing game. He coached one of our former Bethune-Cookman alumni's son, B.J. Daniels, over at South Florida.
South Florida.
So he's been around a few places and had more than a cup of coffee. And I think, I'm not trying to put too much on him, I think he'll try to keep us out of bad situations. And a lot of time...
Wait, hold on, Mr. Wesley.
Best friend when you're young.
Mr. Wesley, how do you say all of that and say I'm not trying to put too much on?
I'm just giving you his pedigree. Okay, I'm not putting all that on.
Listen,
but I tell you this: what I've always been afraid about when we play these kind of games, football is 100 yards. It's a mathematical game. And so one of the things that I like to say, that if it's 100 yards, then when you kick off to me, if I can't return the kickoff past the 20, take a knee. Get the ball at the 25. And I think you're going to see those kind of things happening in this kind of game. And I don't look for us to be making a lot of mistakes. It'll be the first game of the year. I think a premium will be made for us to possess the football, to stay on schedule, stay out of 2nd and 13 and 14, 3rd and 15 and 20. If we can't make first downs, let's kick the football away and make the other team score, not give them a short field. That's what I mean about being a good play caller. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to see happen throughout the year for us.
I'm 100% with you, and I am excited about Coach Canales, and everything you said is true. But my maroon and gold glasses that I looked through, you said the best offensive coordinator we I can't get past Rick Stockstill just because of his time with Bernard Hawk when he was here and that sort of thing. That's taking me back to my childhood. So if we can get that kind of production, and reminiscent of those days out of this offense, that'd be great. I'm wondering out loud. Coach Canales, as you mentioned, been with Norm Chow, Lavelle Edwards. Those guys like to throw the ball around a whole lot. You just wonder with the quarterbacks that we have in tow right now, Jalen Jones, Walter Simmons, I know Tyrone Franklin is in the mix right now. Those guys are dual threat guys. And so you wonder if you see a translation of those style offenses like the Lavelle Edwards offense, Ty Detmer and those guys throwing for 600 yards a game, or do you see more of, again, it's still a cerebral approach, but more of take advantage of the talent that you have. We may not throw for 500 yards a game, but you can stay on schedule by using the mobility of your quarterback. You have a coach who's seen it all because of his pedigree. So rely on that experience to help these guys out and put them in the area of their strength. And if that means that we go out and sling it around for 450 yards, that's great. That means we throw up for 250 and the quarterback adds another 75 with his legs and the running game gets going. I do think we have the type of coordinator. I hope we have the type of coordinator, and I think we do, that will take advantage of the strength of his team and not just say, this is my system, we're going to run it. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, how much of, again, that pass-happy background that he comes from. But he had really good success at USF with guys like Matt Grossi and C.J. Daniels and those kind of guys who were dual-threat guys. So it's just interesting to see what his 30-plus years of knowledge, how he's able to put that all together and then install and implement that here at Bethune-Cookman with the talent that we have.
Jerry, we're gonna be a heavy RPO football team, and what I think you're gonna notice when I mean RPO, run pass option, what I think you're gonna notice about this is that much like the Florida A&M North Carolina game, what was impressive about Florida A&M, the ball came out quick.
Great route combinations.
And that's what you're going to see with Bethune-Cookman.
Yes.
The routes are going to be complementary routes. They'll have hot routes out the backfield with both backs, if it's two backs in there or one back. A heavy usage of the tight ends and two tight end package because people are going to want to cover Kamari.
Right.
Kamari's going to take a lot of coverage with him.
Right.
So we're going to work up underneath. Watch that real quickly. We'll throw the deep ball, but it's not going to be slinging it all over the field. It's going to be 5, 10-yard passes, quick routes out the backfield. The pass is going to be an extension of the running game to keep me on schedule toward moving the chains. That's what I've seen in practice. And that's what I love about this because the worst thing that can happen to offenses today, unless you can make up that down and distance, is to get behind the chains. Definitely. And that's what we do a lot in HBCU football.
Right.
We don't need that. We just need to matriculate the ball down the field. It's
going to surprise you some, as a fan base because we're used to, breaking the huddle with.
No, none of that.
with 5 minutes or 5 seconds, left on the 25-second clock. It's going to kind of scare you a little bit because we're already on the ball.
Exactly.
Ready to crank it, and it's 20 seconds left on the 25-second clock. So
with quarterbacks that are very capable in using their legs,
right? Definitely.
As well as if it's not there, they can run and make yardage.
Yes.
So I like the approach of what we're going to be able to do, and we're going to try to run the football out of the RPO game. We're going to do that. I think our offensive line is very much improved.
Very much improved. We have a question. Who's going to be the starting quarterback on Saturday?
I think we're going to see 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much know that. We're going to see all 3 of them. Who comes out the bullpen first? I don't know. You may go
I say probably
guy.
Equal playing time.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I do
till
as well.
late in there. Yeah. Not only do we, we have an offensive coordinator in Coach Canales. We then elevated Coach Hayes after Coach Jones.
And Coach Hayes is a hands-on coach. He's an in-your-face kind of guy.
Very much in your face.
So.
Huh, Ralph?
and I think what do they say? A lot of times teams take on the personality of the coaches. And I think that's defensively. Because we go to practice, these guys will hit you if you walk by them. You know,
right.
They just like to hit folks.
They're like bees that will not stop. You know,
Oh, yeah.
they definitely come at you.
So I think the scheme will pretty much be the same scheme. I think how they execute it in terms of the pressure, that's what's going to change.
Right, definitely so.
Hey, Daryl.
Yes, Ralph.
Let me say this. I don't think it's much more I can add to what Mr. Wesley has already mentioned. But the one thing I want to shout out to is Coach Sims and his staff. I think they've done an excellent job of going out and recruiting and bringing these young men into our institution. And some of these guys, we're wondering how in the heck did he get that guy here? I think we have a tremendous recruits. I think they're going to do well. I think we have, like as Mr. Wesley has mentioned, we got a fantastic offensive coordinator. But I think we got to shout out to Coach Sims because I think he did an excellent job of bringing kids in.
Most definitely. Well, definitely.
I certainly echo that, Ralph. I certainly echo that.
I mean, what? We have 10 plus D1 guys who've transferred into Bethune.
If I didn't know any better, I think Mother Mary McLeod Bethune might have gone to get some of these kids. Okay? Because I wonder how they got here.
Definitely so, with more possibly on the way. So you'll see a roster full of guys come Saturday that will get on the field. That will definitely factor in guys who are not not used to this level of football. That we're playing against. So definitely.
I like to see how well we do on third down, in this game, because that was really a struggle last year. We talk about the offense, but we could not get off the field on defense last year. Some of that was, again, it was the predictability. Some of that was just cohesion with so many new guys. Some of it was just last year. It's been what it is. And so I do think that there'll be a lot more, with Coach A. That has to be number one. You got to fix third down. You got to get off the field. Get teams in third and long. You got to get off the field. And so that's kind of I have my eye on that particular statistic if there is one to focus on.
Jerry, a lot of that though, and I agree with you. A lot of that was a result of depth too. We really didn't have very much depth on defense, and we had a lot of kids hurt. But I think right now, in just the linebacker core, I think we're either 2 or 3 deep. And the cornerbacks, we 2 or 3 deep. And we got a lot of kids on that football team that we didn't have last year. We got a lot more kids. So I think last year our problem not getting off on third down was really related to depth, and I don't think we're going to have that problem this year.
I think the defense is upgraded in all of those areas, but I most noticeably feel that we have a lot more athletes who are faster.
Definitely.
We have a lot more speed on that side of the folks. We got some people who can get after the quarterback. We got some folks who, when they hit
with
you,
size,
with size. So we've upgraded in a lot of ways. We're physical, we're fast, and we really get after you. And I think you're going to notice that really, really quick.
Yep.
Rodney, you think you could handle it against our defense?
I don't know. Not out that.
I know before we came on the air, Mr. Wesley said you look like you can still put the pads on.
Ladies and gentlemen, he does. He looks just like the guy we saw the last time we saw him going in the end zone against Florida and hit them in the what was that, 52-48 or whatever it was.
Yeah, big time classic.
So, hey, Rodney.
Yes, sir.
Rodney, they always tell you running back, nope, you can't cut the linebacker in the A gap.
Right,
what happened when that dude 245 coming down here? What you do?
Coach, I slipped. Accidentally fell into his knee.
Because we definitely have a middle linebacker that size who is hungry to play football.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We definitely do. Guys, let's move forward into our I know we're being asked. There's some questions being asked online. Who's going to be our starters? What's our potential depth chart? As you said earlier, yes, we will see 3 quarterbacks. I know Coach Canales spoke of that after the scrimmage the other night. Who do you look to first come out of the bullpen at quarterback?
If I take Coach Sims at his word, playing an FCS school for the first game, on the road,
right?
I would think he would go with the guy with the most experience. I see Jalen
Jones.
I really
definitely.
do. I think he'll get Jalen out there first. I think from the wide receiver perspective, I think we'll see Marcus Riley at one of the split ends along with Darryl Powell. I see both of those guys being out there. We know Kamari is going to be there.
Definitely. But we've added some tight ends with some not as Kamari size, but
they
close.
They fit the package
yes,
for what we're trying to get done.
Very well.
That's why I'm saying you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel, which is double tight ends, and look for the tight ends when we go into motion and we shift. Watch the tight ends in the running game, not just the passing game, because that's the new thing right now. Pulling the tight ends to get a different look on how you're going to block a play differently.
Right.
Rather than pulling the guards, they're pulling the tight ends around. So I think that package is something that's going to be very, very different from what we've ever used before.
Yes.
So you'll see some 5 wide sets, but you're going to also see a lot of 12 personnel,
yes,
double tight ends. And utilization of the backs out the backfield.
Get it out there in the flats.
That back out the backfield where you're throwing the flare pass to him, that's just an extension of the running game. It's like a long handoff to Quayshawn Bird,
Jimmy Robinson.
Right, Jimmy Robinson, Cameron Ingram.
Just call the roll.
Literally.
Lindsey,
we got a bevy of running backs back there. So I like what the whole idea is make you defend the entire field.
Yes.
We don't want to play the football game in a phone booth.
No.
We want to play it on the football field.
Right.
And so if you have to cover the entire football field, it definitely puts people in space. And that's where mistakes are made.
It does. What about on our defensive side?
So,
and our O-line there's a consummate of O-line, and we have great size on O-line with quick feet.
We're big at the O-line, and one of the things that's different about the O-line blocking today, years ago, all of O-line was about firing off man on man. This is zone scheme.
Stand on your block, right.
Stay on your block. We're running RPO. We wall off to one side, the back reads it, and if it's not to the play side, he goes out the back door. He cuts back. So there's less emphasis on being able to just drive somebody 10, 15 yards down the field. If you're going to the right, we're going to take you to the right.
Right.
So I think we're pretty good. And I love the job that Coach Pearson has done.
He's doing a really good job.
Line. He really has done a marvelous job, as he always does, with the offensive line. I think defensively, you asked me, I look for a quicker defensive line this year. Stronger and quicker. With
guys who can handle guys at the FCS, or the FBS and FCS level.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely at the FCS level.
We've got some bodies in there that are not going to be moved very easily. I'll tell people this all the time. They don't realize. Earl Lane, our defensive line coach, is one of the great mysteries of all of HBC.
He definitely
Earl
is.
Lane, Coach Booger McFarland.
Yes, he did at LSU.
They won a national championship
yes.
on the staff with Nick Saban. This guy knows football.
He does.
He's a quiet, unassuming kind of guy, except when you get him on that football field. And he's a heck of a teacher.
Yes, he is.
He gets the most out of his players.
Yes.
So
even running down the sideline during practice, going to another different segment.
Another session where they're going to go do something else. He's right there on it. So I like that. I like the fact that linebacker-wise, Darryl, you know this, and Ralph, from watching practice, I mentioned earlier the ability to run.
Yes.
To run to the football. A lot of guys that we have out there are listed, could very well be listed not as so much a position at linebacker, but as an athlete.
Yes.
The strong safety who is really a linebacker. You know, bottom line, guys who can get to the football and make plays. And we've got a couple of young kids who are freshmen.
Yes.
Who are going to get some play, and they can flat out play. They come from big time programs, and they were successful at those programs. So
I tell you what, for our guys, if you're a running back and you're playing against our defensive guys, if you don't get down, if you stand up over there on the sideline, you try to break it back across the field, lights out.
Yeah.
Lights out. And they flow and run to the ball.
We have a very deep cornerback room. We're very good at the cornerback position, so we'll have a lot of depth there, and guys who can play, not just bodies, but guys who really can play the cornerback position. And it's being taught a little differently this year because we're going to show a little more bump and run, like Jerry was talking about, an inability to get off the field on third down. Well, if you're sitting back in cover 2 every third down, and your corners are already 8 to 10 yards and they're bailing at the snap, it's very easy to make first downs. But when you got somebody in your face, hand checking you, bump and run style, makes it a little bit different. And I think you're going to see a little bit of that. That's why I said the defense will be the same. The approach to how we apply it will be different.
Definitely.
So listen, you mentioned our quarterbacks are better. I'm glad you said that because last year, man, we were worried about Ralph Smith. When we played against Jackson State, man, that Malachi Wiseman had Ralph going nuts. We couldn't find nobody to guard him.
Jerry, I'll tell you.
Ralph Smith.
I mentioned I wasn't going to talk about fishing, but I didn't see any games in person.
Right.
But Ralph talked to me so much about the cornerbacks on the Fish Creek, the fish couldn't even bite. Particularly the Alabama State game. I thought he was going to lose his mind against Alabama State.
We're better and improved this year, and I know Ralph will echo those sentiments from what he's seen in practice.
If you're at Alabama State and you got a freshman quarterback who's not very good, but like Larry just said, you line it up 8 yards back and they only need 6, and you make it look like an all-star. That's how we looked at Alabama State. But again, I think the approach this year is different. The kids seem to be, the attitudes are different. We practice different. And just the way we carry ourselves is different. Everything seems to be different this year, and hopefully we get the results of that. But I'm very excited about this team, and what I would really like to see is the Wildcat fan base get excited about this team. And we could talk about all the things that's not going right at the university, but we need to support these kids. And I think this year you're going to be proud of them. No, we don't brag like all the other schools about all the people we bringing in, because that's not something that Bethune Cookman does. But I think we're going to have a good product on the field, and I think we need to support it.
Most definitely. I definitely echo those sentiments, Ralph. One of our watchers, listeners, was asking about the kid Steven Sparrow. I know we talked to Coach about him, and Coach any position on this field.
He is a phenomenal young man.
He definitely is.
And you only have to go back and look at his clips at Jones High School. He comes from a very athletic family.
Yes.
But the young man can really play football. He really is a great corner cover kind of guy. He can play anywhere back there. You can put him in strong safety, corner. He makes plays. He's a playmaker. He's around the football.
He does. Another guy we got from FIU by way of Butler Community College, Deshaun Davis. And I know Mr. Wesley and Ralph are very familiar with Deshaun. Earlier in practice, he's not back at safety anymore. He moved him up to linebacker because,
which is where he needs to be.
He's knocking paint off helmets.
He's a thumper. Okay?
He is definitely a thumper.
Find him, okay? You don't want to run around in his area and not know where he is.
You're right. That's
is definitely that kind of young man.
That's all the way back to the high school days. I know me and Rodney are definitely glad that he left Lee High School because we couldn't make it far in the playoffs. He was always knocking our quarterback Jordan Smith out. So, looking to see great things out of Deshaun on this year, and I think we'll see and hear from him early. From what I'm hearing, So, guys, take us into. I know we've covered it a little bit, but our scouting report. As you said earlier, Coach Cristobal, he is an offensive-minded guy. He's going to have those guys ready to play football, no matter who's lining up against them.
He and his best friend, the offensive line coach, Alex Marbell.
Yes.
You can watch this football game Saturday, and Miami is going to establish the run.
Definitely.
You can believe that
Definitely.
because that's what they do. I mean, not so much the team. That's what
That's their trademark.
Right,
yes,
that's their
definitely.
trademark.
Definitely.
And because that it says something about your team when you can run because you're physically imposing your will on somebody else. And these are two good offensive line coaches.
Right, definitely.
They just happen to one is the head coach and one is the line coach. But
right.
I look for that. That's what I look for. We know that Tyler Van Dyke, their quarterback, as they call him, Tyler Van Dime, down in Miami.
Right.
He can throw that football, and they'll be balanced. You'll see him running it. You'll see him throwing it. I think the offensive coordinator that they picked up, Josh Gaddis, is really
awesome pickup.
He is something special. He really is a coach on the fast track. I mean, he really is. Comes off of the Nick Saban tree. He's been around some great programs. And so you can expect Miami to be very balanced. And so we're going to have to defend everything. They want to be physical. What would you do if you're playing an FCS school? You want to test the physicality because you're supposed to be better.
Right, you're supposed to be, in every sense of the word, better than
Absolutely.
them. Yeah, I mean,
they just got through watching, they being Miami, watch Florida State last week.
Right, Duquesne, yes.
And Florida State had 3 running backs
over 100 yards.
You know they want to make a statement against Bethune Cookman.
And definitely. Yeah. And I know they don't want to be North Carolina.
They're going to come out and they're going to use the run to establish
right. Definitely.
That's what they're going to do, and they're going to be physical at the point of attack. Now they're a little bit thin at running back because they've got some injuries.
Yes.
But they still have the little rooster back there.
Right. Parrish, he'll get a steady dose of carries. I'm sure he'll be the starting guy coming out of there.
So, like I said, I just look for them to be balanced all the way around and to be physical from that perspective. As long as we don't give them anything cheap, make them earn what they get.
Every play.
Field position.
Every play.
It's going to be critical in this ball game and not turning the football over and losing a turnover battle.
They have a couple of injuries on the offensive line too, so it'll be some shuffling. But best believe, as you said, they'll have the guys who are actually playing in that game ready to go and blocking to the point of attack, no missed assignments, things of that nature. Their defensive line comes in pretty deep into this contest, and as we know, Miami has always had defensive linemen coming in there. Coach Steele, I was there with Coach Steele at Florida State when he was there as a linebacker coach after Coach Amato. Coach Steele's going to have that defense definitely ready.
And they're going to play assignment football, as he said. The base personnel, they're going to match up with what you're doing offensively, defensively. And the one thing that Coach Cristobal said in an article that came out today in the Miami Herald, he said when he came to Miami, the first thing he wanted to fix was the defensive line, particularly the defensive ends. So they not only have a defensive line coach, they have a defensive end coach as well.
Gotcha.
So they're going to be strong at the point of attack on both sides because it's a trench warfare game. That's what football is.
It definitely
Whoever
is.
wins in the trenches wins. So I look for them to be very, very stout in that regard. That's the most experienced part of their football team is their deep defensive line. It's the deepest part of their football team as well right now.
Right.
They have fewer injuries over there than they do anywhere else. They're a little bit nicked up at linebacker right now. But, they've got some bodies over there that can play, no doubt about that. And in the secondary, they're very athletic back there as well. A little bit smaller at the safety
I'm having a complete ADD moment, y'all. But I'm sitting up here saying we played the wrong Miami team because Bryant from the FCS level is up on Florida International 16-6 going into the fourth quarter.
And that was a predictable game that they felt one of the FCS schools would beat an FBS school. They had that game circled, Jerry, Bryant against FIU. Wow. I don't know what it is with FIU and FCS, but they struggle with a lot of the FCS schools. They've not beaten Bethune Cookman yet.
New coaching staff down there at FIU also.
Yep, no doubt about that.
Guy come from Oklahoma State there. Guys, we've covered the UM scouting report, and we'll go now into what's the game plan? How can the Maroon and Gold factor into this game, do what they need to do to be successful in this game?
Well, the first thing, in every game, you want to minimize penalties and mistakes. So we got to be a smart football team.
Right.
We can't do dumb things. And we must possess the football. That is 10/10 the law. Do not turn the football over and give them short fields. Like I said before, the football field is 100 yards. Whatever Miami earns, they earn. Don't give them anything cheap. They're good enough as it is to be playing them head up.
Right.
So we got to win the turnover battle, and we cannot have a bunch of penalties. We cannot be having over 100 yards in penalties. We got to minimize our mistakes. And then in the kicking game, we got to be sound in the kicking game.
We have to be very sound in the kicking game. We got to cover all facets of the field.
Yeah, our return game on kickoffs, Miami used to do this to us all the time. They kick the ball deep and high, knowing we want to run it back.
Right.
Well, the rules now have changed. You can take a knee.
Right.
Get the ball at the 25.
And let the offense who does that go to work.
Exactly. That's what I call. And see, the coaches have to make that call.
Right.
I know we got Darnell Dees. He's a heck of a doggone return guy. But if it's not short, like out at the 10-yard line,
right. Put the offensive guys in there, let them go, and hopefully Coach McCoy will have us ready. One of our new guys, Coach McCoy, our safeties coach and special teams coordinator there. So hopefully we'll draw it up right. One of the biggest things, as we talk about our game plan, we weren't able to practice as much as we.
Right. We lost probably about almost a week.
Yeah, worth of practice.
If you take in consideration the entire fall camp because of the weather.
Right, definitely.
And,
definitely.
You go to a school like mine, it rains every day there, but they have an indoor facility.
Right. So those are, as we talk about game plan, that's pluses and minuses, where they're at versus where we're at. But we're not taking anything for granted. And I commend the coaches for, even with the rain, we're under the stands of the stadium still going at it,
Still trying to find a way to get those meaningful moments of practice in. And I know what we saw from practice this week, Daryl, you and Ralph and I, we saw the installation of some of the game plan. We saw how efficient and how quick we were moving offensively, getting plays in and out, packages in and out. And again, the short stuff, not trying to be greedy, not trying to go over the top, trying to stay out of those 2nd and 12 and 10s and 13s and, third down and forever. And just, if you're in 2nd and 8, 3rd and 7, that's fine.
Right.
You don't get it, punt it away.
And we got a heck of a punter,
and
too.
I don't think you'll see any returns with our punters.
Because
they get it up really high and it's directionally kicked. So I feel good about that part of it as well.
Definitely so. Definitely so. And as we said earlier, on our defensive side, we have some guys who are ready to play, FBS and FCS football against some guys. We're going to bring some guys down. We're going to stop some guys. I truly believe quite a few 3-and-outs. Yep. 3-and-outs. If we're level-headed about it. Yep. I mean, last year we had 3-and-outs. We just made some boneheaded plays when we didn't need to, and that changed the whole UTEP game. For us last year. So we hope to balance that stuff out this year and get back on the winning track for us down in Miami. Which position do you think will stand out in this game for the Maroon and Gold, if there is a position?
Linebacker. Linebackers.
Gotcha.
I would concur, because our linebackers are going to have to play well against the Hurricanes. We're going to have to be able to shed blocks, scraping and getting out to backs coming out of the backfield, and have gap integrity. We're going to have to tackle well. When you get a shot at a tackle, we don't need to have a lot of plays where there's yards after contact. We need to get people down on the ground. And so I think the linebackers will definitely have a lot of opportunities to show they're aware.
Definitely. We'll take a pause for a 106.3 FM station break.
WAIGLP, Daytona Beach, Joy 106.3.
Styles 101 Beauty Salon and Barbershop, located at 955 Orange Avenue in Daytona Beach, is a salon for all your hair care needs. Styles 101 specializes in hair extensions, shortcuts, the natural look, hair coloring, locks, lock extensions and repair, and braids. They also offer nail, eyebrow, and eyelash services. Styles 101 is the local shop for Bethune Cookman University, Embry-Riddle, and Daytona State College. For more information or to schedule an appointment, 386-872-6413. That's 386-872-6413. Styles 101 Beauty Salon and Barbershop.
Tune in to Daytona Beach Radio with your host, the Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham. This is the city's most exciting news and information program here on Joy 106.3 every Wednesday beginning at 12 noon. Don't miss it.
Styles 101 Beauty Salon and Barbershop is currently hiring. Their location is 955 Orange Avenue, suite number 190. They are currently hiring for barbers, nail techs, and beauticians. For more information, 386-852-1632. That's 386-852-1632. Styles 101 Beauty Salon and Barbershop.
We're back on the Hill Wildcats X's and O's show here with my host, Mr. Larry Wesley, Mr. Rodney Johnson, Mr. Ralph Smith, and Mr. Jerry Bell. Guys, we're going over, before we went to commercial break, we were going over our game plan against UM. Is there anything you guys want to add, Jerry, Ralph, on what you'd like to see? I know you said linebackers, Ralph. Is there anything that you specifically looking for? And you and I traveled to, along with the other Wildcat fans, traveled to the UTEP game. Is there something from that game, first game of the year, that you want to see to set the tone for the rest of the year?
I think that's a good question, actually. I'm thinking that when we come out of that game, we'll pretty much know who our ones are and most of our twos. Because right now, I don't think we have a good grasp on who's one and who is two. I think when we come out of that game, I think we'll know. I think we'll pretty much know who the quarterback's going to be. I think we'll pretty much know who our receivers are, our cornerbacks. That's what I'm looking for us to come out of that. Because right now, for me, going to practice every day, look like to be everybody's equal.
It does look like that, and every one of those guys competes to the highest level. It's been a long time since we've seen that. I know, you and I have been going to practice for quite a while over especially the last 2 years, and it's a totally different practice. Totally different.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
from the start of the clock to, the horn blowing to, the different periods being called out. I mean, there's some steady banging going on out there. It's said numerous times, stay up. But a lot of these guys are taking guys down to the ground, in practice. So it's just a whole different atmosphere. It's a whole different atmosphere from
I mean, in addition to that, that's the first time I've seen since Jenkins came in where players are actually challenging each other on the sideline.
Definitely.
Telling them, hey, you got to do better.
Right.
You got to go to the gym. I mean, it's a different football team.
It was definitely said to a couple of guys, you got to get your weight up. Yeah. It was definitely
and that's
said.
great because we didn't see that last year.
Yes, we didn't.
No, if there was something that, we talk about a lot of things that were missing last year because the guys were so new. And just listen, you can't, coaches don't do this. You just didn't see that level of accountability and leadership, and so a lot of times we couldn't believe how flat guys were and how they didn't pick each other up. So the fact that energy level's way up, the fact that they're holding one another accountable, the fact that camaraderie seems to be building up, all of this points to, the potential to have a turnaround this year, and that's what we're all hoping for.
Most definitely. I think one of the things that I look at most, and I know, it's been preseason practice, but there's not many guys who are missing practice. And what I mean by that, you have some of those guys who, I broke my fingernail, so I can't practice, or this is wrong. But there's so much competition out there that, you miss a day of practice, it's no more that, because I'm injured, then I still get my position back. It's not that at all. And the discipline the coaches are putting down, as we know, Ralph, you don't do what you're supposed to do, or you keep the annex up, there's a good chance that you might not even dress out in practice due to your annex.
We used to see 10 or 15 guys walking the steps.
Yes.
Nobody's walking the steps. No, everybody's afraid to miss practice because they think they might not travel or they might not play.
Right. It's just that many guys, that's ready to play, ready to step on the field right now. We're getting questions on Facebook. Any word on the safety position? We're safe at the safety position.
Yeah,
we're safe.
We're we had a couple of kids who were returning at safety.
Yes, definitely.
Uriah Ratliff
Yes.
out of Jacksonville, William Raines High School, is a very heady player. The Sutherland kid who played for us,
Caleb Sutherland,
came in last year. So we've got some experience back there.
We brought in a couple guys out of the Division I level too, and picked up some guys in the portal.
The young man who was out of Louisville.
Yes.
Who was a big time safety. Who he's about 6'4". I'm trying to think of his name real quick here, if I can put it up here. But we got some bodies back there who have ability, not just throwing somebody out there on the football field. There are 3 safeties who are all Division I players who have transferred into Bethune-Cookman from places like the University of Yukon, Southeast Missouri State, Louisville. Most recently, though he's a freshman, Jayden Hodge out of University of Penn, He was a 3-star football player out of Trinity Christian, Trinity Prep over in Ocala, Florida. So I think we're going to be pretty good back there. Like I said, the secondary is not an area where we have a shortage of bodies back there that can get the job done for us. So I feel pretty good about that as well.
Most definitely. Jerry, give me your die-hard game plan for Saturday's game. Kickoff 3:30 p.m. Hard Rock Stadium. We losing? Yeah, I think we lost Jerry. Ralph? Yeah. Ralph?
Yes, sir.
You got a game plan for us, man? I know you'll be coaching from the booth where you're at right now.
Mr. Wesley already said it, though. I'm looking for us to be much better organized. I'm looking for us to actually have an idea of what we're trying to do on offense. And I don't want to see the 100-yard, what the penalties and stuff. And I want us to come out of there just as confident coming out as we went in. And get ready to get the business with South Carolina State. That's what I'm looking for.
You mentioned South Carolina State, our opponent on next weekend. At the end of the third quarter, UCF 42, South Carolina State 10.
Well, hey, I don't know. I don't have a comment on that one, actually.
Yeah. It's what we expected with that one, but
because you know what, we played them next Saturday, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, we owe them something.
Yes, definitely so. Yeah,
we owe them something. So I'm looking forward to that game. But again, I'm just looking for the guys to come out. We don't get any injuries, and I want to have just as much enthusiasm coming out of that game as we have going into that game. And I think the coach is going to take care of that for us. But anyway, that's what I'm looking for.
And not only that, Ralph, but as you said earlier, we definitely need the fan support. I know that the Miami-Dade chapter is planning a huge tailgate there in the orange east lot down there at the stadium. Huge weekend in Miami, but we can't look till Sunday. Our guys in the Maroon and Gold play on Saturday at 3:30 down there, and we're looking for all the fan support that we can get. These guys are hungry. They're ready to play and show just what they've been practicing for. We finally got a full spring in. We got a full fall practice in, minus the rain days, but we still got it in. Our coordinator's been here since the spring. So we're ready to go. We're definitely ready to go.
Absolutely.
Definitely ready to go. Mr. Wesley, you got a final score for us. The spread for this game is 45 points for Miami, but you got a final score for us. Prediction.
I think Miami will cover the spread. I believe the score would probably be something like probably 48 to. I see us being able to score. Really, I see us being able to score 21 points on Miami.
Definitely.
I really believe that. So that's kind of like where I'm looking.
Rodney, you got a final score for us?
I'm gonna go with 45-14.
45-14. Mr. Smith.
I'm going 58. I'm going 58-24.
58-24. Okay. There you have it, guys. Guys, as we get ready to wrap the show, let's have closing words. What, opening game for our Wildcats. What what do you have to say to the rest of the fan base, Ralph?
Let's get behind our team. Let's support them. And we will be feeding the team the week after the South Carolina State game, and we need your support.
We definitely need your support. That is correct. So on that Sunday, you'll be hearing from hillwildcats.com. Let's go Wildcats. Get behind this football team. They need your support. There's big and great things coming towards this, not just the football team, but BCU athletics. There's quite a bit of great things in the works for BCU athletics to kind of level the playing field across the FCS, especially in HBCU. So let's get behind them and support them. Make sure you stop by hillwildcats.com for more information on great things coming up for Wildcat athletics. Rodney?
Definitely. Following up with everybody else saying, definitely get behind the guys. You know, it's nothing like looking up in the stands and having your own fans up there, you know, being the 12th man.
Rodney, I want to ask you what, granted you are, you're a former Wildcat, still, see some clips from you and things of that nature. What was your biggest game?
To me, I would say my last game playing the Florida Classic, 2004. The biggest game playing against Florida A&M.
What made that the biggest game?
We just dealt with so much adversity, and it was like I said at the beginning of the season, we started off with a lot of injuries. That was our first